Hey everyone, I'm Eric. This is my wife Julie, and today we will be talking about
all things anger. We're going to talk about how to control your anger so anger doesn't end up controlling you and ruining your blended family. And then we're also going to talk about a situation that one of our listeners wrote in about at the end, so stick through it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Blend Life Today.
Today, we're going to talk about how to control your anger before your anger controls you.
Life.
I know, and I think that, blended family living, and really everyone in a family probably experiences anger on some level, and anger is birthed out of
life.
Yeah, it's interesting, though, because anger is really a secondary emotion.
Secondary to what?
Like, anger is caused by something underlying. So that's kind of like, I guess we can just start there, is when you recognize that anger is a secondary emotion, meaning, you know, either it's driven by fear, it's driven by, like, my identity is in question and that feels unsafe and I don't like that, or my sense of belonging is in question, or my value, my worth, like something underneath the surface is driving the reaction of anger. Like that is how it comes out, but it's not really what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting perspective.
Yeah, like you can't deal with anger without trying to, like if you're truly interested in like, I want to overcome anger, I don't want to be angry anymore. It's exhausting to be angry all the time.
I won't be angry when I'm dead.
You're always angry.
I might be angry.
You probably are.
Everything's just exhausting, so it makes me angry.
Yeah, but anger is an exhausting way to live.
Yeah, so is living. It's
so
exhausting.
Is living. Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, and we've been gone for the last week, you guys, or did we miss 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you slept one of the weeks because someone had COVID, and then the rest of the house had COVID. And actually, I think it came from school. I think it came from Jared at school while wearing his mask at school. Got it, and then brought it home. And it's welcome to the pandemic. Everyone's going to get it. Everyone's probably gotten it. Hopefully you guys haven't gotten it, but if you have, like,
I was kind of like, we're years in and I hadn't gotten it yet, so I kind of felt like, I don't know, like
I feel like the Matrix.
I felt like I was, and then I got it,
and it slapped you down, and you slept for 1 week straight. Actually, you slept for 6 days straight.
Yeah, I couldn't get out of bed. It was the sickest I had ever been without having like an actual hospital stay
or a hangover.
No, I would rather have a hangover. It was like the hangover that wouldn't quit. It felt like my body got into a car accident. Like when I would try to...
Like your body was the car and it got in the accident?
Yeah, like my body was in a car accident, and every time I would try to wake up, head to toe, every single joint, every single muscle was so sore.
It's a lot of muscles.
I'm very muscly.
I know.
So it was a lot of like, I couldn't get comfortable. I felt like everything just hurt. Like everything was bruised and broken. And then I was like, I couldn't lift my head up or the room would spin. And I was like car sick all the time.
Car sick while in a car accident?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's ever happened to anyone. They've been car sick in a car accident.
That would happen to me.
Did it make you angry?
Oh my gosh. So we've been gone. I've been sick and...
Now you're angry.
No, I'm not angry.
Oh, wait, the podcaster's angry.
You're angry.
I'm always angry, though.
Why are you always angry?
Because I live in a blended family. And this is why we're here, because we're angry, because this is the blended life.
Yeah. So I think if you want to talk about anger, and it's a really important topic, I think, that we broach on our podcast, because I know a lot of anger spills out in relationships in our blended families. whether we're angry at our ex or our co-parent, and that spills out onto our family life, or we're angry at our stepchild or our bio child or our spouse, or a multitude of other things that you can be angry about.
Or just life. Like there's like everything from people driving down the street to neighbors' dogs barking. I mean, life is
Are you speaking from
anger and
experience
exhausting.
or what?
No, I'm just hypothetically.
Hypothetically,
Yeah.
the dogs across
Across the backyard.
they don't bug you?
No.
Oh, that's nice.
They bug our dogs, which bug me.
Yeah, so it's something that if we don't get as a collective, like if you can't get your anger under control and kind of try to figure out what's going on, then that is how you show up in your blended family life. And that is the person that your spouse experiences, your children, your stepchildren, your parents, your friends, like that is who everyone is experiencing, is just an angry human being. And I don't know, you tell me, is that building relationship or is that tearing relationship apart? Like, is an angry individual, and that's who everyone's experiencing, is that going to promote a good relationship? Like, is somebody going to want to attach to that? Is somebody going to want to connect to that?
They look very destructive. I want to hang on to them. It's like a human grenade.
Yeah, like raise your hand if you love living with an angry person, if that's fun.
I can't see any hands.
It's not silent. I bet you people are like, yeah. I grew up with a stepdad who was always angry. I mean, so angry he screamed. And you've experienced the screaming.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm exaggerating.
Which also
it's
takes you into like
scream,
which also plays part into your health, because I mean, not to make an example out of this, but I mean, he's had multiple heart attacks, right?
I mean, he's had a 6-way bypass. Yeah.
I mean, okay, so there's that.
Yeah, and he's had like stents put in. Yeah, it anger affects your health, and we're going to talk about that as well, because it's super important. But I think the most important thing I want to get at everyone is that if you are showing up angry, you're probably a hard person to connect to. Like it's not, you're not someone that is going to be easily approachable. You're not someone who's going to be like, I want to hang out with this person. I want to have a conversation with this person. This person sounds like fun. Like I can, whatever. Or I need a safe place to be vulnerable. And this person is not it. And so I want everyone just to take a second and reflect upon how you're showing up in your blended family life, and if you're perpetually angry or not. And listen, there's a lot to be angry about. I'm not saying that it's like...
I feel like I'm the best of both worlds when it comes to this. I feel like I'm very approachable, yet I'm very angry.
Approachable to whom?
It just depends.
You're approachable to surface, like business. You're the most, like in your business world, anyone could come to you.
Yeah, but what about in my house world? Like if you need something, can you come to me? You can't.
Why are you putting me on the spot? We're going to have to start this podcast over.
She's
you can't
angry,
ask
you guys.
me pointed questions.
But I'm pretty approachable.
You're laughing at yourself.
Because I'm very approachable. Like I'm like I'll talk to anyone and I'll help you through. And
but you're angry a lot.
But yeah.
So this is a question.
It's not, but I'm not like,
this is really
I don't feel like I'm truly angry person though. Like I'm not really an angry person. Things make me, situations and circumstances make me angry, but it's not something that ruins my day or I hang on to. So like it's a very surface anger. Like I might express it to you because I am comfortable to you, or the family. And I might, express my anger and how not happy I am about something. But like this keyboard being in the middle of our table. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I really just don't let it ruin my whole day.
I will say this is one of your qualities that...
you guys, you hear that? One of my qualities.
This is one of the qualities that I really admire in you, and actually people, like it challenges me to be more like you. You challenge me to be better in this regard because you do get angry a lot.
A lot.
There's a lot to be angry about. I mean, to be fair, it's not that you're walking around just angry for no reason. We're a blended family. We're business owners. I mean,
we're dog owners.
We're dog owners. We're
dog neighbors.
We
drive in our cars.
So there's a lot that angers. And so, but what I do really appreciate about you and something that I work on, and it probably, I don't know if it seems like I work on it or not, but you don't hold on to things. So you may, yes, you express your anger in the moment. People know exactly like, oh, he's not in the mood right now.
I think you're the only one that truly recognizes that. Thank you for recognizing that.
You're welcome.
My mom might too. I don't think my dad does.
You just make your mom cry.
I don't. That's
you
not,
do.
You make me sound like a mean person. Me and my mom have a very fun, bantering relationship, and we love
I've
one
made
another.
my mom cry.
Well, yeah, I've made your mom cry
You
too. But
made everyone
I'm
cry.
Just kidding.
We
make it sound like we're mean people. We're not.
No, but so getting back to my point of what I really appreciate about you that challenges me is that you genuinely let things roll off your back. So you're angry, but the next day you're not punishing me for it.
No, because what I just got out of this, what you just told everyone is you're challenged.
I'm
and
challenged.
So therefore I don't punish you for that.
But it is something that is a really great quality because it makes me feel safe in our relationship. I know that if we have a fight or an argument and we don't really fight a whole lot. I'm trying to think that the last
fight is the wrong word. Like, we don't fight. We might argue or have disagreements or heated discussions. But fight? No, I think I'm too angry to fight. No, not really. Fighting's exhausting.
Well, what I've learned
really
about
care.
you,
yeah,
and I'm spilling tea now, is like if I don't want to fight with you because I will always lose.
Well, I don't.
Because you go to places that most people can't access unless they're the devil.
Well, listen, I won't fight or argue with someone unless I have a ground to stand on. Because if I'm going to be wrong about something, I don't want to be proven wrong. So if I'm going to be wrong about something, I'm just wrong about it, and I'm going to admit it. Like, I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to show up and accuse someone of something if I know it's all false grounds. Like, I guess I'm very passionate about everything I believe in. So if I'm going to argue about something, it's because I'm not going to lose.
Yeah.
So
that's how you yes, I agree.
Like I'm very like
hockey is this is the tangible example I can come up with that's not like fighting with verbally. Hockey. Eric is a hockey player.
You say was?
Is a hockey
player.
Say I
got a big old bruise right now.
And so here's what I've learned about Eric on a hockey rink. If anyone steps to him, he's going to put them on their ass. Like he's not going to entertain chirping or aggression on the ice hockey rink if he's not going to finish it.
Well,
and
if we're gonna,
kind of like how you do life.
Yeah, if we're gonna chirp, I'm gonna beat you with words. I'm gonna use words as weapons to beat you over the head with. And then if you want to escalate the situation,
yes, you're very good at.
Then I'll bring out the great fisticuffs.
Yes, I'm glad. See, I miss hockey. Maybe hockey will be your outlet where you will just not be like you can get your anger all out.
I don't like. See, but
then you come home angry from hockey, so I don't know.
Hockey's fun.
You're like, my team sucks.
Yeah.
And then you got hit.
But we're playing in like rec league right now, like beer league, which like
beer league?
Yeah, that's what it's called, where it's like just very low. Like there's really not a whole lot of skill involved. There's like 3 of us on the team that can play. Out of like 10.
Yeah. But how you deal with anger is, and I want to know how you do that. This is something that I've I've appreciated about you because it makes me feel safe that you can be angry with me or annoyed or frustrated or whatever it is, and then you don't punish me for it. Like in the moment, maybe like you're upset, like that doesn't feel great, but 30 minutes later, it's like everything's back to normal, everything's fine. The next day we go on, like and I'm not built like that. I don't know how to just switch on and off without resolution because Eric doesn't really need resolution either. Like you can be mad and then you move on. And there may be no resolution.
A lot of times we're just working through a situation or a scenario or something that happened. And at the end of the day, like you've believed in what you've argued. I've believed in what I argue. And there might not always be a perfect solution to it. So what are we going to do? Are we going to hang on to our sides?
Yes.
Just a perfect example right now, America is very divided right now, politically. And just because you believe one thing and your neighbor believes something else, does that mean that we should hate our neighbors? Does that mean that we should dislike, the person next to us because they don't think the exact same way that we do? At the end of the day, like, it's our God-given right to have our own thoughts and feelings on anything. I believe very strongly and wholeheartedly in what I believe. And if you want to debate and argue, like, I'm going to fight that to the end. But at the end of the day, you have the exact same right I do to believe what you want and how you feel about something. And bringing this back into context and perspective, it might be about one of our children and how our child's raised, and it might be my child and your stepchild or vice versa. But at the end of the day, I have my God-given rights to believe that they can be raised a certain way, as do you. So if we hang on that and I get mad at you and I punish you for the next 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years because you don't think the exact same way I do, well, we're never going to move forward.
Yeah.
Like, it's just an argument that we've had, or a discussion that we've had, that have put us into this place of feeling like it's a fight or an argument. But at the end of the day, it's my thoughts and my beliefs versus your thoughts and your beliefs. And if we can't extend grace on one another or our neighbors, then we're really not going to probably go very far in life or in relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I want to piggyback off that and give our audience a little nugget, because we get asked a lot, I get asked a lot anyway, how do you deal with like different parenting styles and different, parent like values? Or because I think that, one thing that Eric and I have truly mastered in our, I'm going to say something great about us.
Wow.
It doesn't happen very often.
Doesn't it? I feel like I have a lot of great things to say about us.
But I think that one thing I really appreciate about our differences, because the truth is our kids are raised differently. They have different sets of parents. They have different, and each sets of parents have different values for their kids. And one thing that Eric and I don't do is we don't spend time fighting the difference. We don't spend time like shouting at the rain about stuff we have no say and no power over. So what Eric and I can do, and this is a nugget for you blended family people who maybe feel like, gosh, we are so divided. We're so different. We have all these differences and we just can't see eye to eye. And how are you a team? And all these things that draw up fear and doubt and worry and anger, right? Is that we have, and that's what Eric was saying about having the right. Like, we both genuinely believe that I believe that Eric has the right, him and his ex have the right to raise their child up however they see fit. When you birthed a child and brought a child into the world, that is your right. Same with me. I believe that I have the right and to raise up my kids with my co-parent as best as possible the way I see fit. And I think that mutual respect that lives between, we both believe that, and then we respect each other. So there are so many times in our blended family life that we don't agree with how things are handled with each other's kids. Eric could tell you probably 20 things off the top of his head that he's like, I would have done it differently. I wouldn't have done it that way. Same, and in reverse. But we don't spend time there because we have this mutual respect and understanding, and that's kind of why we're able to just not live and upset about it. What I see happen a lot with people in blended families is that they're really upset about this specific thing all the time. And then they get really angry. And like I said, anger is a secondary emotion. So what's going on underneath that anger is identity in question. Aren't I important? I'm the step parent. Don't I have a say? I live in this house. I'm your spouse. And so identity is a lot in question, which feeds anger. Fear of, not mattering, fear of How is this going to turn out if this kid's raised this way, and how's that going to affect me? And so a lot of that drives the anger, but you don't even have to, like, if you can get to a place of mutual respect and understanding on this topic, I think the anger and temperature in your blended families will come down a bit. What are your thoughts on that? Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just comes down to extending grace to one another. And like I was saying before, just understanding that we are all different. I mean, even you co-parenting with your ex or me co-parenting with my ex, even that looks different. Yep. I co-parent with my ex different than I co-parent with you, because you have to deal with each person individually for who they are and what they believe in. Wouldn't it be nice if everyone just walked around and just totally understood you all the time, everywhere you go, every situation? Life would literally be a Hallmark movie.
Right. And wouldn't it be nice if we all walked around and were honest about what we needed, what we wanted, had a voice, instead of walking around expecting everyone to read our minds and anticipate our needs?
Well, think about it. I mean, if everyone could read your mind and anticipate needs and understood you and your point of view, I mean, there would be little to be, what's the word I'm looking for? There would be there'd be no mysteries, Yeah, it'd probably take a lot of anger out, but it would also, it would change dynamics quite a bit.
Yeah. And I think that what another thing about this sparks in me when you say that is, like, how much are we just angry because we feel so repressed, right? We're angry because our needs aren't being met. We're angry because people don't understand us, and we're longing to be understood. And so the lack of understanding, see how that's a secondary emotion?
Oh, that's my first dairy emotion.
If something is feeding your anger. And so, but I think of it, we do it to ourselves because we don't speak up for ourselves. We do expect our spouse or our co-parent or our kids or our stepchildren just to know. Like, they should just know. Why don't you just know? And we're not expressing wants, needs, boundaries, expectations, desires. We aren't expressing it, yet we're angry these aren't being met and adhered to and honored and valued. And it's a really big problem. And so if you're walking around angry all the time and you're wondering why, also ask yourself, are you speaking up in relationships with everyone in your blended family? Do you have a voice? And it's like, people can't meet your needs if you're not vocal about it. Now, if you're vocal about what you need and what's really bothering you and nothing's done about it, then that's a whole nother conversation about anger. Yeah?
Amen.
Amen, sister?
Sister.
So anger and frustration. What I want to talk about now is that if we can bring appreciation to anger instead of, like, I think we get at war with ourselves. Are you going
to appreciate my anger now?
No.
Oh.
You have to appreciate your own anger.
I do.
You really like it? You're smiling.
No, I know.
For those who can't see, he's like beaming with pride.
Anger is one of those things that I feel is it's an expression. It's a person, place, or a thing.
It's an expression.
It's an expression.
It's a reaction.
Anger, I feel like my anger is more of an expression than a reaction. I feel like I don't react right away to anger. I feel like if you make me angry, you probably don't know right away because I have to work out my emotions, and then it becomes an expression.
Fun. Fun for everyone.
Fun for everyone. It's like Play-Doh, Fun Factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just squeezes out all the areas.
So, do you enjoy being angry?
Who enjoys being angry?
Well, because
you think some people, I think reality TV stars enjoy being angry.
I think some people like the drama of anger.
Yeah, I don't at all. I hate drama. I don't like being angry. I like being happy. I like that feeling.
What makes you happy? Won't ask, sorry. Anger, though. Yeah, but I do think some people like being angry, or it's a habit. And so this is something in coaching I talk about a lot, is like fear is a habit. Anger can become a habit where it's just like your go-to, like I have this need that's not being met, and so my habit is anger.
Or
instead of like I have a need that's not being met, and how can I figure out how to handle that a different, better, more appropriate way.
Or people that like to become victims. I feel like that's a habit, or that's something that a lot of people do. I know there's a lot of them. There's probably a dozen.
Yeah. But
more.
Okay. But I think if you don't like being angry, right, the first step is to figuring out what is causing your anger. What's the underlying issue here? And it's a really important thing for you to figure out, because there's usually an unmet need, like I was just saying. So if you're angry about something, it's usually that you have a need somewhere inside you that's not being met, or you're afraid. There's like a fear-based.
So how do you get away from that though? What if you stop, you take a look at your blended family, and you're like, man, everything about this isn't meeting my needs. Like I'm having issue with my kids, I'm having issues with my stepkids, I'm having issue with my spouse, I'm having issues with the neighbor's dog. It's like everything around you is just imploding.
Okay, so I'm going to blow your mind.
I wish I had a sound effect for that, but instead I have old Greg.
I need to create like a. I need to create like a visual for this, because this is a coaching thing. Okay. So if you guys don't know, I'm a life coach. I help women in blended families find peace amongst the chaos, because when you're experiencing a chronic state of upset and a chronic state of like just upset and crisis, like you're just in crisis mode all the time. Yeah, it's like, how do you, or unheard, how do you find peace in the chaos? Because I think a lot of people don't want to break up their family. We didn't get married and commit and join everything together because we thought, hey, we're just going to break it up in a few years.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a great April Fool's joke.
Yeah, that's not what happens. But what does happen is we jump in wholeheartedly, very excited, very hopeful, and then you can't predict, you can't foresee all the shit that's going to happen, all the different circumstances and people and things that are going to come. You might think a child's going to grow out of something, and 10 years later they haven't. Who would have predicted that, right? So you can't predict the things. So this takes a toll, because we just learned about this in church this morning. Like, what do you do when things don't work out like you thought they were going to?
And usually they don't. Usually you might think you have it all figured out and this life path, and some people might get it pretty close, but at the end of the day, like, no one truly knows.
No. So even though you might be the most prepared couple ever to walk down the aisle.
Prepared?
Prepared.
Okay.
I'm making words up. It sounded right.
Sounds right.
You could be the most prepared couple entering your blended family with everything figured out. I promise you, curveballs come. And then what happens, though, is that curveball after curveball hits you, and you start experiencing this chronic state of upset and crisis, right? You're in crisis mode all the time. You're upset all the time. And so basically, as a life coach, that is what I help women figure out. Like, how do I find peace amongst all of that so that I can have a peaceful and fulfilled life in this blended family? Because the truth is, you can't control the chaos, right? I can't control everyone around me. All I can control is how I show up, how I react, how I am in my blended family. But when I show up differently, everything is forced to shift around me. And that's kind of your power. So, but what I want to get to with in regards to like anger in your question is, I think step one is understanding that you don't want to operate that way anymore. Because sometimes you're not done with anger. Unless you're really genuinely ready to lay it down and move on, it will always creep back up. That habit, you will always pick that bad habit up. It's like smoking or, addiction. Like until you're genuinely ready to be done with it, it's probably going to be part of your life, like a habit. And I'm talking about like upset and crisis all the time, not I'm angry every once a month. You're never not going to be angry, but as a way of living and a way of existing and a way of experiencing your blended family life, you should not be chronically upset, chronically angry, chronically in crisis mode. Like that's not a sustainable way to live, which is why blended families break up to the tune of 70%. It's
so
what
if you are? What if you are walking around and you feel like it? You're like, man, I am always angry and I am always upset.
Yeah, you recognize it.
And you're recognizing it, but you're like, how do I get this under control? There's 10,000 things, and it would take 1,000,000 hours. Yet I only have a day with 24 hours. Yet 20 of those hours are fulfilled.
Right. It seems very overwhelming, doesn't it?
Right.
But the truth is that habit change, it's a habit change, right? So once you've made the decision, like I'm done with it, I don't want to live this way anymore. I'm genuinely willing, like I'm exhausted. I don't want to have another stupid argument about something I have no control over anyway. I mean, how many times have you had an argument and it proved fruitful? The other person like, oh my gosh, you're right. Thank you so much. I'm changing everything because that was really good. Doesn't happen.
I mean, I feel like we could have an argument and you would say something along that lines.
I'm evolved. Anywho,
Okay,
just
evolver.
kidding. But so, right, like you realize that I don't want to live this way anymore, so I'm ready to lay it down. And then it's like any new habit, whether you're going to the gym and starting a new workout routine or a diet, or you want to create a habit where you're going to read this book by the end of the month. Well, that doesn't just happen without you picking up the book and reading it. And so I think that once you're really willing to do the work, then it becomes a matter of habit change and transformation and just reacting differently. So then it becomes you have to understand what your triggers are, which means you have to do some kind of work to figure out what is the unmet need here? What is the fear here? And then you can start working on dealing with the unmet need and fear. Either the unmet need is, I have this unmet need and I react in anger. Well, if you know that you don't want to be angry anymore and you want to get this need met, then it becomes, how do I meet this need a different way? Because sometimes we think we're going to get needs met simply by being angry at people. Like if I'm angry at my husband, I'll get my need met. If I'm angry at my children, I'll get that need met. And that's how we try to control and figure out how to, and so it's like, well, how else can you approach it? Can you meet your own need? Do you need someone else to do that for you? So it becomes like just the way you shift your mindset. And when you start shifting mindset and when you're triggered, acting a different, like choosing to act a different way, and you do that over and over again, right? Habits take a long time, like 1,000 times it becomes a habit. So it takes time. We all want like immediate gratification, immediate change. Like that doesn't work that way. You're going to fail along the way, right? You're going to give into anger because that's been your habit for however many decades.
And now you're going to be an angry failure.
No, but failure isn't even. So in coaching, we say that failure is just information, right? Now you know what didn't work, and now like you learn a lesson. So
what
failure
happens if you keep doing it then? Like you know what you do is a failure.
Yeah.
But you keep doing it and you don't learn that lesson. Then what's that become?
Then maybe you really just like existing in anger.
Yeah.
Like people who really don't want to do something, don't do it. Yeah. People who really don't want drama aren't part of drama, right? They don't. Yeah,
as little as possible. They learn to avoid it in every way, shape, or form that they possibly can. So
But I do have some tips to how to deal with anger. You want to hear those?
I would love to.
I know
hear
you're really
those.
excited.
I know. We should get them made and like poster boards and put on the walls in the house.
We should.
Yeah.
But these are things you should write down and then consider when you're feeling really angry. Like sometimes it does. Like Eric often just needs to not deal with it in the moment and have space and time. I've learned that about him. Like sometimes he just needs to walk away. And I think it's a really good thing because if you're able to walk away and not react in the moment, then you can go through this list and then you come back to the situation a much different person.
Well, and I've realized with me, like a lot of times it's not even so much that I'm angry, it's that I'm overwhelmed. I have so much going and on such a tight
You don't have time
deadline.
to deal with. I hear you don't have time.
I don't have time. I am like, it makes me angry because the anxiety builds up because I'm running out of time and someone's at me for this and someone's at me for this and someone's at me for this. And it's too much juggling going on and I don't have enough hands. Too many balls and not enough hands. And then it just becomes a problem.
Yeah, but what does that make you feel then? You're angry because you can't fix it?
It's anxiety.
Like you can't be everything to everyone and you feel like, so you respond in anger, but really it's just that you're feeling like maybe
overwhelmed. It's overwhelmed and it's anxiety. I think it's more anxiety than it is anger. And anxiety is different. It's not I think a lot of people feel a lot of different type of anxiety. I think anxiety comes in a lot of different forms. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not like an anxious worry person where I think is anxiety for a lot of people.
Right.
It's anxiety that I'm going literally 1,000 miles an hour and I almost feel out of control, because I'm just like, if I drop the ball for this person, it's not going to be right. And it's almost a sense of failure. And I'm afraid to fail because I don't want to let people down.
Here you go. And that is the root of your anger.
Wow, I'm healed.
But you understand it now.
Yeah, I'm healed. I told you. It's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah. Fear of failure.
Yeah. And it's not so much that I'm going to fail.
I know.
Right
Here
then.
comes the pride. Like,
no, it's not that I'm going to. No, you call it what you want. It's not that I'm going to fail in the moment. I'm not afraid to fail at something in the moment. I'm afraid to let someone down that's going to turn into something more. I'm afraid to let you guys down in the family that could spiral into something else. I'm afraid to let down a client that's going to spiral into something else that then, they let their clients down and a deal doesn't get worked out correctly. I don't want to be the root cause of failure for anyone else. I only want to do good for people and help them succeed and do better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's like an identity issue too.
Yeah, I have no idea who I am or what to do with my hands.
But this is something in coaching as well. Who you want to be, okay, is this person who really wants to show up for people and help them succeed and do right. Like that's your heart. That's who you want to be. And when you get overwhelmed and you feel like you're stretched too thin and there's too much on your plate, it makes you it seemingly is impossible. Like the anxiety comes up because how are you going to live up to your standard and who you want to be when you're spread so thin and then you're not living in alignment with who your true self is? And that gap between who I want to be and how I'm showing up. Oh my gosh, if you guys ever have a breakthrough session with me, we're going to talk about this. If you guys want coaching, email me at becomingheardnow@gmail.com. I'm offering a free 60-minute breakthrough session to see if coaching's right for you. But this is something we will talk about is we so badly want to do good, don't we? We enter blended families wanting to be a great partner, a great teammate, a great parent, a great like we want to do good. We want peace. We want these things. And then we make decisions and we show up differently, because we're overwhelmed or whatever. So the person who is showing up is not in alignment with who we want to be. And that gap that exists between the two is where all of our stress and anxiety lives. I mean, I would venture to say if we could live in alignment with who we actually want to be and how do we do that? Well, that's something we could talk about in coaching. I help people with this. But when you can show up and live in any situation in alignment with who you want to be, it doesn't matter what's going on around you. Like, you don't have that gap to fill with stress and anxiety and worry. And I really think if we could all do that, our mental health would be a whole lot better. You know, who everyone gets to experience in our blended family. Like, even if you wanted to be like a dictator in your home and you're like, I want to make the rules, and that's how you're showing up, you're a healthier person than somebody who's like,
is that a thing? Like if I'm
somebody really if somebody's like, who do you want to be in your blended family? And they're like, well,
Kim Jong-un.
I want to make the rules. Right. Like, I want to have a say.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes to me.
What if they want to have all the say? I want to have all the say. I want no one else to say anything else.
Some people really want that.
Okay.
But when they don't get that, when that's their heart's desire.
Yeah.
And they're forced to live outside of that, good is no judgment here. Some people want a lot of different things for themselves in life.
Some people just want to be told everything.
Some people make no decisions.
They don't want to think for themselves whatsoever. They want someone that's going to lead them through life and tell them what they're going to eat and what they're going to wear. And yeah. Okay. They want to be on the other end of that.
Yes.
Okay.
And so when you're forced to live not in alignment with what you really want, it creates you're at war with yourself.
Right.
You know, and we aren't proud of the way we react in anger. Right? That doesn't feel good. We're not stoked to be angry at anyone in our family.
No, I hate feeling angry.
Yeah. Did it answer your question?
Yes, like 6 of them. Thank you.
Do you have any more for me?
No, but a listener does.
Well, we're not going to talk about that yet.
Why not?
Because I have points.
Oh, well, on to the next point, please.
Okay, so how to deal with your anger in the moment, because this is a whole lot of stuff. So write these down and consider them when you're having your cooling off period. Anger is trying to tell you something. So the first thing I want to tell you about when you're angry is don't be upset. Have you ever gotten upset that you're angry? Isn't that the stupidest thing ever?
Is that like double stuff Oreo? It's like being angry.
You're like angry, but you're mad that you're angry.
So you're extra angry.
You're extra angry.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
And then you're like, why the fuck am I angry? I don't want to be angry.
Come on, there we are.
Sorry.
Oh, that's not even the right button.
He doesn't know the button system anymore.
Because we haven't. We had some music going with that one. Dang.
So anyway, what if you just decided to be curious about your anger and appreciate, like, thank you, anger. You're trying to tell me something. And so instead of being upset that you're angry, pump the brakes and start getting curious about it. What is anger trying to tell me? What is the unmet need I need met here? What is really going on? Why am I angry? And be appreciating that anger is trying to help you figure something out. It's a coping skill.
Anger is on my side.
Yeah. Anger is really just like a warning bell trying to help you figure something out. And so you can bring appreciation around it and you can bring curiosity to it. And then you can actually do something constructive with it if you can get to the underlying issue. Also get curious about anger is a great pointer to where you might be able to let love and compassion in.
See, I'm so loving and compassionate. So what this
laughing.
What this podcast is telling me is, man, I'm doing great.
No, but it's
no, she says.
Well, you're doing great. But what I'm saying is that usually anger is a trigger, but it's also an opportunity to be able to recognize a place in your blended family or people or a circumstance that you might be able to let love and compassion in. And when love and compassion and grace, that's another one you said, you can let that into the situation that's bringing you anger or the people, then it calms you down, right? Then it's like, okay, I can calm down about this because now I'm replacing anger with love and compassion and grace. And I may not agree with it, but we also understand that other people have their own issues and hurt people. So maybe it's not even about me and I don't need to be angry. Maybe it's more about them and how sad it is to be them. I'm not really angry anymore, right?
You're healed.
I'm not healed.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah. Another thing when you're angry and you're angry at somebody you're having a discussion with,
heated discussion.
A heated discussion with, in air quotes.
Yeah.
It is helpful to consider for a moment, what does this person have to teach me? What may they be right about? That's really hard. I mean, that's really, really hard because we don't like being wrong. We don't like being, like, it's embarrassing or shameful, or we feel guilt when we're in a situation where we're angry at someone or someone's angry at us and we're now defensive. To be able to have the emotional bandwidth to like halt on that and really figure out, gosh, what are they right about? What is the lesson here? How am I behaving in a way that's feeding this anger? Or what can I learn about myself in this moment that they could be right about? Is this hard for men? It's hard for me.
No, I think it's a human nature thing. I don't think it's men or women in particular. I think it's just human nature. And a lot of people struggle to admit they're wrong if they're wrong, And that's something I worked on a lot after my divorce, is figuring out, like, look, I'm not right about everything, and I know I'm not right about everything. And the whole situation really humbled me up quite a bit in being right and wrong, because I realized I'm not always right. I am part of the problem. I am part of this situation, and really me admitting that I'm wrong and not always right is kind of the only solution to anything, know? And I think the more that we can admit that we're wrong, then the more we're going to find out we'll actually end up being right.
Yeah.
It's a riddle.
I'm right, but I'm wrong, but I'm wrong, but I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm everything.
It helps, because if you realize you're wrong, like, you can't be right if you're wrong. So there's more often that you're right, because you'll realize when you're actually right.
And I guess also, does it matter? Like,
well,
you're right or you're wrong.
That's
so
the other thing
what?
too. Yeah, like, pick your battles. Like, who cares if you're right about, what taco tastes better from what Mexican food restaurant? At the end of the day, no one really cares. Like, it doesn't matter. You know?
Well, it is interesting because what I've learned being married 3 times.
Is that it?
For now. Just
For
kidding.
now.
But what I've learned is that there's very few things that actually deserve a fight. There's very few things that actually deserve your energy and like to actually go down the road of like, I'm just going to battle this out.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
There's very few things that are actually worth it.
No one wants to do that.
The older we get, the more tired we become.
Dang, so I'm going to be as tired.
I think
so I'm going to sleep for a whole week in some time from now?
Well, it's funny because like young couples are very passionate and fiery and all that. And then you look at like older people and they're just like quiet. And I'm like, they're just tired. I don't think it's a maturity thing.
I'm exhausted.
I think it's a tired thing.
Yeah.
Like
maybe that's why I don't like to argue. I'm exhausted.
Yeah. I'm just tired. I don't care. You win. Great job. High five.
I'm too exhausted for high fives.
To the face. Okay, but then also, so when you're really angry and you're taking time away to kind of reflect on it, consider like, how can this situation work for my good, for my personal development? If you're in a fight with your spouse, maybe you take in consideration, like, how can this fight work for our good? What can we glean from this that's going to make our marriage stronger? Or me a better spouse, or a better mom, or a better stepmom, or a better co-parent. Like, even when you're fighting with your ex, and, I think we probably have fought with our exes more than we fought with ourselves over the years, like us together. But it's also like, it's a good learning opportunity. Like, how can this interaction with my co-parent work for my good? Let me give you an example. You might have a fight that revealed a new boundary that needs to be in place, which is for your good. And without this fight, that this anger that stirred up in you, you might not have realized a necessary boundary that you needed to put in place, and that is for your good. And for actually the good of your co-parenting relationship. Boundaries are super important. If you are co-parenting, don't be afraid of boundaries. They're not punishment. They're protecting your co-parenting relationship so that you can continue to co-parent. Because if you're volatile without boundaries, that's not sustainable. And then your co-parenting relationship is going to be so volatile, it might crumble, where you're only communicating through, this is my parents, only communicating through lawyers. And that's for nobody's
or
good.
the kid. A lot of people communicate through the kid.
And that's really sad.
I've learned a lot about this, what you're talking about, by watching your situation and your co-parenting. And I've learned a lot, like what not to do in my own relationship because of how things go in your co-parenting, and vice versa. I learn about how to treat people and how people like to be treated by paying attention and learning from other people's mistakes, other people's interactions with people. So I learn a lot about you by seeing your reaction to even situations with your friends, situations with your parents, situations with your kids. I learn from all of that, and business world. I learn a lot from people that I'm working in business from because of what they'll come to me and what they'll say, just in a friendly conversation. So-and-so did this, or it's helped me better my business because I've learned from other people in the same realm of working as I am, learning from their mistakes, because the reason I'm working with this client now is because so-and-so made a mistake. And I'm like, I better not do that. That's something I can learn from right there, and that has helped me build my business to be better, to become a better businessman, to become a better business partner, friendship, business relationship, however you may, but then you translate that to your household and your daily living, and you learn from other people's mistakes. And we've all heard that before, right?
Yeah, but I haven't heard it say like how you're saying, where you're witnessing my anger and my mistakes in co-parenting, and you're relating that to you actually learning about me as a husband.
Yeah, like because I'm getting things that your ex has done over the years, maybe before our time, maybe now during your co-parenting, but there's things that he'll do that I'm like, I guess I better never do that. But I also take that, not only translate to our relationship, but I translate that to my co-parenting relationship. And I go, you know what? Julie really doesn't like this when her ex does this to her and this is going on. And I could take that and I could use that for bad. I could do the same thing, but then I'm just creating a negative situation there. But I'm like, you know what? If I learn from that and I don't do the same thing to my ex that yours is doing to you, then that's going to create a better relationship to raise our children in, to co-parent. And as a broad, it's just learning from other people's mistakes. We've all heard it.
Yeah.
Our parents have told us. Our teachers have told us.
That's the point of our podcast.
Oh, that's the whole point. This is why we're here,
Don't make
people.
our mistakes. Learn from us. Do better than us.
Yeah,
we made a lot of mistakes. Anyway.
How many?
Well, remember when I came up with the brilliant idea that we were the flashlight people?
Yeah. You were going to do something with that once.
I was.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was like my thing, that blended life, and Eric and I were the flashlight people, meaning that we have flashlights shining lights on our path so you can see the potholes and the divots and where we veered off, and so you can avoid that. So you might make your different mistakes, but you don't make ours. Let us.
More like a sparkler that burnt out.
Okay.
Just has that little glow on the end still.
Well, the last thing, I do want to get to a listener question, but I really want to finish this topic on anger with, it is really all about when you're angry and you're dealing with someone or a situation, you really at the end of the day have to decide, who you want to be. Do you want to show up as an angry person? Do you want to react? Is reacting as an angry person going to get you what you want? Is being angry back going to be healing, going to be fruitful, going to be life-changing? Is being angry back, is being an angry person, whether in reaction or in general, Is that the person you want to be? If it's not, then you need to get curious, right? Who do I want to be in this moment? Do I want to be someone who's filled with grace and compassion? Do I want to be someone who is assertive yet understanding? Do I want to be someone who's holding my ground but respectful that the other person also has their opinion? You know, who do you want to be when you're in a fight?
In coaching, you help people figure out who they want to be. Like, this is
yes.
I know this, but I'm like,
it's the hardest. Like, it's the hardest, easiest question. The hardest question I ask anyone in coaching is the very first question I ask them.
Okay.
What do you want?
What do you want? The world is yours. The world is an oyster.
Here's the deal.
Okay.
It's really hard to say what you want. You could tell me all day long what you don't want, what you don't like, what you don't deserve.
So what is that? Is that like a frame of mind? Is that like, well, how is that part so easy, but knowing what you actually do want is so hard? It's just a frame of mind or what?
Yeah, I think it's because we're conditioned not to want, not to need. We see everything from a negative standpoint. You know, we are the victim. We are wronged. We don't like this. You could talk to me all day about what you don't like about your blended family. You could talk to me all day about what you don't want in your relationships and what you don't want in your co-parenting. This is all very easy. So then what do you want?
It's like one of those charts that people make where they draw a line down the center, and on the top they would say a want, and on the side it would say don't want, and then you write them down, right?
Don't want, don't want, don't want, don't want.
Don't want she's doing that anymore. Next
don't
subject.
Want no itty bitty, teeny weeny, shriveled little, short. Don't want, don't want, don't want, don't want.
All right.
See?
Well, this is why we do podcast and not actually singing.
Oh.
Leave the singing to Barry.
Okay. So I think it's something you really need to consider when you walk away and you come back to an argument. You know, who do I want to be right now? Do I want to be?
You're a total wannabe.
Wannabe.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's figuring that out.
And honestly, some people just want to hurt people, right? Some people are like, no, I'm fucking angry and I want you to feel my wrath. But that's it. I'm angry. I want you to feel my wrath. I want you to hurt as much as I want. I'm hurting right now.
Yeah, but that's a toxic person, and some people are
human.
Just. That's a bummer.
You've never felt that where you want someone to feel as miserable as you do because they created that?
No, not in a really, really long time.
But you felt that in your life.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like it was a different life.
Oh.
It was like lifetimes ago. I feel like I've changed a lot. Where I'm just like, if you're gonna make me feel miserable, I just want nothing to do with you.
Yes.
And you go be miserable on your own, because I don't want any part of that.
Yeah. I know this is something I talk about with my clients a lot, is like, it's so funny because we see people sitting in pig shit, right?
I don't want to sit in it with you.
Right.
Yeah.
But we do, don't we? We like
Some
hop in and we're fucking rolling around in pig shit.
Your mouth today.
Sorry.
I don't have enough beeps on this board.
But we do that. We get in the rink and we're rolling around the pig shit with them. That's disgusting. Like, why? We get baited. We get triggered. There's a whole lot of why, but you can definitely decide not to get in the pig shit. You have that power. You have permission not to get in pig shit.
Can we call it piggy poo?
Okay.
We're going to call it piggy poo from now on.
We have someone who wrote in on Facebook Messenger. And so this has nothing to do with anger, but I felt like I missed answering people's questions to us. And I think it's an important part that you guys can reach out and you guys can, because there's more than one person dealing with this. So this person, I always keep people anonymous. She writes in, are we supposed to be babysitters for our biological kids when it's the other parent's week? I love my kids, but I also make plans the weeks I don't have them, as we have 4 kids together, ages 13 to 7 years old. So I need the time they are not here to get stuff taken care of. I also don't want my kids to have to be taken care of by someone else or alone out where they live when my ex works late. So I'm confused on what to do. And my husband says my ex needs to man up and take care of things himself, which is true because he still depends on me for so much.
There's two sides to that story. Like sometimes we need to step up and just be there. Other times, like, yeah. See, now living in a blended family, the dynamics are so different. It's not a normal family anymore. There are different gives and takes than there are in a biological family. It does look different. I feel like there's a lot more compromise in a blended family if you want there to be. Now, there doesn't always have to be that compromise, but that's up to you. Now, we as blended family lifers get that luxury of having the kids and then the times of not having the kids at all. If you're on, like, say, a 50-50 schedule like we are, you get that time to yourself where you get to have things done. You get to go, out with your friends or, get the laundry done. You have that quiet time that, say, in a biological or nuclear family, you might not necessarily get. But it's one of those things that I feel that you have to set that tone. You have to figure out the give and take. Sometimes someone's just going to use you, and they're just going to, they just depend on you to do everything. There's other times that it might be a dire situation. Like maybe they're in the hospital or they have to, travel, out of state to go help someone, in need. There's times where it can differ, but that has to be up to you ultimately. Like you have to set that tone and you have to set that pace, because if you don't, it's a boundary. If you don't, people are just going to continue to use and take advantage of as long as you allow them to.
Yeah, when I read this question, wow, I had the first thing that came to mind was that she's probably feeling pulled in a bunch of different directions, right? She wants to please her husband. And I get as a spouse of, like when you're a spouse of somebody who's co-parenting and you're seeing the relationship between the co-parents and you're the outsider, right? You're the spouse and you don't agree with how your partner's being treated, like, being used or, walked on. That's a very hard place to bite your tongue and not say anything. So I'm sure she feels the pull of like wanting to please her husband and create that boundary and let bio dad take care of it. Like, I feel like that's one pull.
Yeah.
She also mentions that she doesn't want her kids to be looked after or left alone, like looked after by somebody other than a biological parent or left alone. Well, and so I'm like, that's a very real concern for a mama, especially. I know dads too, but so I think it's like, I think what's going on here is more of like, I don't know how much it is about her desire to have free time. It could be. But there's also that, like, it's nice to, like you said, it's a luxury. It's nice, but
there's also the side of it too, that if you have the opportunity to have your kids more often, like there's that draw, there's that need. Like if you can have your kids, why are you not going to? Like you're gonna want your kids, And I deal with this a lot, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of sides and everything and involved in this.
And here's the thing in blended family life that we've learned. You cannot please everyone. You are not the jackass whisperer, right? Like you're going to, by choosing one situation and you're deeming this is right, it's probably going to upset someone else. So I think we all have to release ourselves from the pressure that we're going to make everyone happy, because we're not. So I think it comes down to, for her, it's like you have to prioritize your values. What do you value most? And there's no judgment here. I'm not going to tell you what you should value most, but there's three things that are at play in this situation. Time to get shit done without the kids, right? Pleasing husband and making husband feel like you're doing what he feels is right. That's, pleasing your spouse. And then the safety of your children. You don't want them watched by somebody else or left alone. So you have three things at play, and it would be really good for you in your heart of hearts, because you are the bio parent. You get to ultimately make this decision, is to write them down and put them in order. It might look like husband first, kids second, free time third. It might look kids first, free time, then husband. It could look like whatever. And there's no judgment.
Screw them all. I'm moving to Tahiti.
But there's no judgment. But I think it's a really big thing where you have to get really clear on your value system and your priorities. Because when you make hard choices where you know you're going to displease someone, you best be in alignment with yourself, right? You best be doing what is in your value system. Otherwise, you'll go mad and go crazy, and then you'll lose yourself in everyone's disappointment. So you really have to start figuring out, like, what's the most important to you and release yourself from judgment. You know, if free time without the kids is the most important thing to you, that's your business. It's nobody else's. So I think that once you figure out priorities and values and make a decision in alignment with that, and I think honestly, you have to tell your husband, like, this is my choice. This is what I think is right. And I'm so sorry you feel like that. Or maybe you feel like there has to be a boundary in place, then that's great too. And I think that you have to take your spouse along for the ride. You can't just steamroll. You have to kind of like, this is my option. I need your support. This is how you can support me in this. Love you.
Yeah, I think that's good if you talk about it and you have support for your support, for evidence for what you're about to say and why you feel like this. Like, these are your feelings, so they're not wrong. So as long as you can express your feelings and talk about them and explain why you're going to make this decision and why it is.
And I think it's important to give your spouse a job to do. Like, if you make a decision and you know your spouse isn't
really important.
If you make a decision and you know your spouse isn't going to be 100% in agreement, right? Like, they would do it differently. Welcome to blended family life. We would all do it differently, right? So that's not special. But if you can bring your spouse along and be like, and this is my decision, and I really just need you to support me on this. And if you feel like the kids are here too much, then let's have a date night, you know, every other week that you feel like I'm carving out time for you too, you know, and kind of have a plan how you're going to handle this as a team. The worst thing you can do is make a decision and not talk to your spouse at all. Like, make the decision and be like, that's it. This is what we're doing. And they don't get to be, even if they're not a part of it, you can give them something to be a part of. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
All right. That's my answer to that.
All right, you guys.
I hope that was helpful.
We are The Blended Life. Thank you for being here with us and sharing your circumstances and situations. We will continue to learn from them. And you, hopefully, will continue to learn from ours. So, all right, you guys. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.